Pasquaro Jr. I am the Vice Chair of the Campus Activity Board, as well as the Chapter Polaris of the FMU Colony of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Hi, my name is Kyra Wilson. I am also a member of the Campus Activities Board, and I'm a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated.
Welcome. So, once again, good evening. On behalf of the Office of Student Affairs, the Campus Activity Board, and the FMU African American Faculty and Staff Coalition, we would like to welcome you to the FMU's annual Black Heritage Month program.
Tonight's program will emphasize the significance of African American heritage and its impact in today's society. It will also highlight the struggles and achievements of African Americans in America. In our attempt to increase cultural awareness on our campus, we hope that today's keynote address will focus your attention on contemporary issues raised by the African American community and create ways to both empower and inspire our great nation. We hope that today's program will foster a sense of diversity, appreciation, while honoring those who paved the way for others to follow.
In an effort to improve upon our future programming efforts, we would like to ask you to please complete the evaluation form you have received at the registration table and return it to the table, please, after the event has concluded. As always, we are appreciative of your continued support of our educational and cultural programs.
Now to a musical selection by the University Choir and Voice Collective.
Oh, deep in my heart.
That was an amazing selection by not only the University Choir and Voice Collective, but of YGB as well. Okay. Did you know the celebration of Black History Month began as Negro History Week, which was created in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, a noted African-American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher. It became a month-long celebration in 1976. The month of February was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln.
And now we will have a musical selection by the Young, Gifted, and Blessed Choir. Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you, YGB, for that soul-stirring selection. Did you know that Jack Johnson became the first African-American man to hold the world's heavyweight champion boxing in 1908? He held onto the belt title until 1915.
And now for a spoken word presentation by Rashard Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Black History Month. Freedom comes with a cost that pain can't buy. That's why the tears we shed never heal open wounds. These scars are passed down, but can be broken. And here we are. The source of our pain acknowledges our purpose. That's why no matter how much we bleed, love still says follow your dreams. From the beginning, we've had a fight. A battle that the Almighty saw would bring us together. Malcolm united color that blends with perspective. Frederick once said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. No wonder Harriet struggled. Her purpose came through pain. I'm thankful for Sojourner. for the power in her last name, which activated the strength fighting for women's rights, giving them a voice that was overlooked by men. Just like Rosa, a stance was taken, and in the position, permission was given, with Susan B. placing her role in change, similar to Malcolm's, but through suffrage that women died in each day. History has a way of repeating itself, reminding our spirits that sacrifice is key. Never forget those who bled, those who died, those who prayed for who and where you are today. The opportunity for you to create history that hasn't been seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashard, for your spoken word. Okay, and now for a dance performance by the Praise in Motion Dance Ministry.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, and let me stand. The time I get a little weak, and I get a little warm, get so warm. Lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and me home. Y'all, I wanna go home when my way grows so drear.
Let's thank them again for that powerful, that very moving performance. For our next fact, did you know that the black population of the United States in the 1870s was 4.8 million? And in 2007, the number of black residents in the United States, including those more than one race, was 40.7 million. And now we will have Miss Demetra Pearson, the Dean of the Library here on campus, as well as a member of the FMU African American Staff Coalition.
Good evening. You all will have to excuse me. I need a moment to compose myself after that performance. And it just gave me pause to appreciate the struggle that we as a people have experienced, and definitely reinforces that we definitely know where our help comes from. Please join me in giving a hand to our students who have performed so wondrously this evening. It is my distinct honor to introduce award-winning novelist and keynote speaker for this evening, Dory Sanders. Ms. Sanders was born in Filbert, York County, and is the 8th of 10 children. Her family's more than 200-acre farm, where 14 varieties of peaches are grown, is one of the oldest African-American-owned farms in York County. Sanders' accomplishments have exceeded her wildest dreams. Her novel, Clover, spent 10 weeks on the Washington Post fiction bestsellers list, won the Lillian Smith Award, and was optioned by Disney for a motion picture. Clover and Ms. Sanders' second novel, Her Own Place, offered the experience of growing up in the rural South. Dory Sanders' Country Cooking offers the taste of growing up in the South, detailing family recipes and stories told at the peach stand. The granddaughter of a freed slave, Ms. Sanders made an address at the 7th Annual Southern Foodways Symposium in Oxford, Mississippi, on the 40th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Please join me in welcoming the incomparable Dory Sanders.
Thank you, Francis Marion, for having me visit this evening. But what a hard group of acts it has been for me to follow here. The gospel singing, mesmerizing. The praise dancers. It's very difficult for me to get up and dare to even follow after such a wonderful, wonderful display of talent. But it all helps me to see how that they join others in this month of February of celebrating our heritage. I think it was so powerfully enacted this evening as we had the opportunity to sit back and enjoy such marvelous, wonderful portrayals of accomplishment on the part of our wonderful, wonderful actresses and actors this evening. It makes me all go back in my mind to the year 1926. It was in that year that Carter G. Woodson, a PhD Harvard historian or graduate, decided to embark upon Negro History Week back in the year 1926. Pace forward to the year 1970. In that year, it became known as Black History Month. And it was in the year, 6 years later, that President Ford, seemingly, if I recall correctly, officially inaugurated the year of the month, February, as Black History Month. As we think back and reflect upon the many, many accomplishments that have taken place since that time forward, It makes me think of something that one of our well-known historians and orators, Frederick Douglass, once wrote. Without struggle, he wrote, without struggle, there is no progress. There are those who want the rain without the thunder and the lightning. They want the oceans without the roar of many waters. They want crops without first plowing the soil. Without struggle, there is no progress. And indeed, so many of those before us had such a tremendous amount of struggle. We can tick them all off the way that we remember them, just to name a few, because to spend the evening would be to recount them all. Mary McLeod Bethune, among others, struggling to overcome odds and insurmountable problems all before us. But as we think about the ones that we so well know so much about today, we sometimes fail to overlook the little things that so many before them and after them have done to enliven us and to help us to surmount our many problems, our struggles. We think of our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, our relatives, our educators, our friends, and this diverse group of people, as we could see well demonstrated on the stage here tonight. People who come together to surmount and overcome, oftentimes, their very own struggles. So just because maybe there have been those who have not had such proud, big, great moments of achievements, we realize that there are others that have also made a great, great contribution to our very day-to-day. I listened, and I watched the students tonight, their voices joined together in harmony. Great talent there. They themselves, in their only small way, young people were building a legacy that they would indeed pass on to others and those around them. I think so often about my life, my parents, and I think about their struggles. We're a farming family. I am still a certified South Carolina peach farmer. I still live on, I still farm, the family farm that's been in our family for over 100 years. But in all of those years on the farm, with all of the years and the time in between, my father, an educator in his own small way, a rural elementary school principal in a 2-room schoolhouse, which simply meant that there was one teacher, head teacher, and a teacher under him, 2-room schoolhouse. My father even then emphasized so strongly the value of struggle, the value of learning to know how to cope with each other. And most importantly of all, amid it all, that important little segment called tolerance. Tolerance is that wonderful segment that we have, that wonderful attribute that we should all try to employ today, regardless of race, diverse creed, that of tolerating another person, regardless of race or nationality. When we think and look back upon the times and the progress that has been made over the years, it makes me again think of some of the struggles that we embodied just in the farming life itself. Struggles, progress. Maybe it was something as simple as trying to overcome the perils of the dreaded boll weevil that would at one time wiped out entire crops. not just the insects of that problem with them, but then there has been the rainy seasons, the dry seasons. Sometimes there were entire seasons that there would be no yield at all. No crops would be made because of some devastating problem that would have been beyond the control of the farming families in the given state communities. But yet, there was that little era of survival. There was that important ingredient of struggle. They did overcome all of that. And when we look back again today and we think about the people around us, our parents, our friends, our neighbors, our educators, our brothers, our sisters, and all of those people, we have to realize that there is that diversity there, that different way of seeing things. There's that era of that element of creativity. And that, my dear ones, is something that even scientists today have yet been able to accurately measure that era of that degree of being a creative soul. The intelligent IQ has been established. That's measurable. You can measure that, but not that creative soul, because that is something that so many of us have, and that is something that we're able to build upon and to determine one's legacy. I think about my life as a farmer. We still are on that land, been in our family for over 100 years. And I think about it in a way that helps me to see that it is so plaintive, so mundane, so ordinary, so simple, but yet it offers endurance, and for many, a source of livelihood. It is a plain life. It requires no real, to me at least, no real intellectual thinking about it. You do the same thing year in and year out. You till the soil. You prepare the ground. You put in a seed. You pray for rain. You hope it'll come up. If it does, you cultivate it. Then you tend it as you would a parent, a loving child. You give it loving care. You tend it. And then you hope to reap a harvest. But there's something that can be said about that kind of life. Oh, so plain, oh, so ordinary, but yet it frees the mind because it's a given for what you do. It is something you do year in and year out. The same procedure, the same thing. Even with modern technology today, the procedure remains the same. But now, in its little simple way, there's something about it that's wonderful. It frees the mind. It allows the mind to be free, to open up, to free one's imagination, to make them look at life around them, to see what is happening as they go in and day out. Whether it's a plaintive cry of a mockingbird or a killdeer, or the way that a turtle dove, in its own little blind-like way, will seek out and build its nest, the call of a crow, or all of those things around us. They're the things that cause you to ponder oftentimes, to check out, to wonder, what if this would be this? Why would that happen? And for me, it was that kind of setting that also led to the peril of my having an injured leg, because I messed around with my immature thinking. I am locked in adolescence. Sometimes when I'm roaring through the countryside on my tractor, it's a quite nice one. It's a Kubota 70-40 horsepower. My brother has his old Massey Ferguson's, two of them. One is 245 in horsepower, the other is 30, one is 45, the other is 35, 235, 245, and my tractor has more power. So I still have that joy of being able to race across the countryside. And sometimes I put on all the lights, and it seems as if I'm in New York City with all the lights blinking on and off. And then there's that little steady stream of that little pipe coming with the smoke, sending a stream of smoke with the diesel fuel through the sky. There's a power there that is still awesome to this day. Just be careful how you get off, because you might ruin your leg like I did mine, but that's all right. I was able to make it down here tonight. But now, that very setting served as a wellspring for my wonderful role as a writer. My first novel, Clover, as it was mentioned, was widely received. A simple little story set on a peach farm in South Carolina, York County, upstate, just below the North Carolina line, just west of Charlotte, east of Greenville and Spartanburg, right in that little area where we have the Piedmont surge of cold that comes down from the Blue Ridge Mountainous Range, which gives us just the right temperatures to have wonderful peaches, because that is a commodity, a fruit that requires many, many hours of chilling, 700 to be exact. So we need cold weather in order to have a bountiful peach crop. I don't think you all could grow them quite well down here, because already the daffodils are in bloom. But you can always come up to see us for the peaches, and then that's where we have them. But it was in that little area where I was able to set my writings. One book, another book, a cookbook. Maybe not quite a great legacy that was established there, but look at life around you. Think about your relatives, maybe your mother or your grandmother or your father. Think of just how that some of them might have just decided that with the combination of two flavors, they would give a food a totally unique, different taste. That is using a creative source to make one plain tasting food taste even better. Just something that's simple. Or it could be, that wonderful talent of music, as we heard the group singing tonight, the voices blending together in harmony, the rising, the harmony, that wonderful sound that I so wish I could just listen to over and over again. Then with the artistic part of it, the praise dancers, all of those together were here tonight. There was just recently here, I understand last week, there was the sweetgrass basket makers. What a wonderful display of talent that they have of taking that grass, of making priceless, priceless items, baskets, wonderful things. It takes some skill to do. Everyone can't do it, but they did it because they were able to use their talent to do something that would leave them and use them as a legacy. And that would be the kind of thing we would all hope that they would have. When I think about things like that, it makes me think that it's not always the high and the mighty that will always gain the greatest acclaim in the world that we have today. Every individual will almost always leave their own trace of their pattern of life, and they will offer up their own legacy. And for us, that's a heritage, and it's something that we can so wonderfully well celebrate. When I was first introduced to the world of writing, unlike some of the students that I was able to visit on campus today, with the wonderful instructors with the creative class, with classes in creative writing and all those things, I didn't have that particular privilege, but I was a reader. And therefore, I did set the kind of information that would enable me to be able to pull in my imagination and enable me to become a writer. So therefore, I wrote one book. I wrote another book. I did a cookbook. I wrote another book. And now I'm working on a mystery. My brother said it's a good thing because he says we need another tractor. I was dismayed with my brother when we were able to have a crew down one time on the farm, actually, and my brother was there, and they asked him what did he think of his sister. There's just the two of us out of the family that's on the farm now, with great help, because we're much older. The other members of the family were smart enough to leave the farm. Oh, yes, they were. They went away to pursue other careers in other towns, but we stayed on the farm. But when he was asked what he thought of my writings, he said, well, she's written 2 books so far. I haven't gotten around to reading her new one yet. They said, well, what did you think of the first one? Well, I tell you, he says, I haven't read that one either. He says, but it sure has helped us to pull our family out of the red into the black. So that's the extent of a sibling's comment on what is going on. But when I think of what goes on and what has happened with our legacy, I want our young people, I would want our older ones to not underestimate the legacies and the celebrations of the heritage of our Black History Month that we have right before us down to this day. And as you all know, we don't have to count them one by one. They have been enormous. It has been unbelievable, the amount of progress coupled with struggle that has been made over the years that has come down to our time and given us reason to celebrate today. It makes me think of our accomplishments in this way. Even if they're little tiny things that are being done, even if they're little small things, we should never ever underestimate them. We should give them their due. Makes me think of what an old writer, painfully troubled, great artist, Vincent van Gogh, what he wrote into one of his many, many letters to his brother Theo. He wrote, "Don't let's forget, it's the little emotions that are the great captains of our lives, and we obey them without even knowing it." So as we go about our celebration this month of wonderful remembrance of the great accomplishments of the Black history that unfurls before us, let us remember those little things and let us embody them as a part of our heritage, and let us make them a legacy that we will pull into our own lives. I can understand that since I can't see out there my timekeeper, I don't know where this person is. Seems like I've been talking forever, but I guess I haven't. I can't see my timekeeper. But I know I'm not supposed to be up here all night, because all day long they've been saying, "Dory, your time is up, your time is up." And I don't want to go overtime. But I wonder if there might be anyone in the audience who might have a question. I would be more than honored to answer any questions that the audience might have, and I would be grateful for the chance to entertain them. And I hope, if I may, to be able to answer those questions to the best of my ability. Any questions? Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What's your favorite part about writing?
My favorite part about writing. What is my favorite part about writing? Actually, I don't really like to write. But you know what? It's something I can't help. Someone today told me, an aspiring writer, whose opinion I respect very, very greatly, that it's a story that's been inside of him for so many years. And he's forced to get it out, and he's forced to tell it. He's forced to write it. And I think that is what it is. I think that when you have embodied in your mind stories, and you know them, you cannot hold them in. You're forced to put them down. And the more you write, that's what it is. And I must admit that a nice part of it is being able to keep the farm solvent. But that's okay too, and that's being truthful. All right, another question, please. All right, I think I heard the latter part of that. The first part of that question again was? Yes, dear. Oh, a wonderful, wonderful question. My father did teach us the importance of tolerance. And why do I feel that it is important? I feel it is important because of the way he taught us that. Because people have heart, people have soul, people have minds. And my father also taught us that because we need to exercise tolerance, it's because we do not need to visit upon one person the evils of another. There are so many young people today that may have to endure the stigma and the hurt visited upon them because of something their forefathers did. Has something to do with what they might be. And that is not fair. Because the person before you may have gone down, may have done the wrong thing, but that does not mean that you should suffer because of what they did. And he used an old saying. I would like for someone who knows how to do all of these kind of things to find out. I don't know the author of that, and here's what it was like. There is so much good in the worst of us, so much bad in the best of us, it ill behooves any of us to talk about the rest of us. Students, will you all tell me who's responsible for that wonderful saying? But doesn't it make sense? So much good in the worst of us, so much bad in the best of us. Ill behooves any of us to talk about the rest of us. So if we're going to use that kind of thing, then we would have to exercise tolerance. Think of the performance here tonight. It was a mosaic. There were not just African Americans, there were others. But with that blend of the mosaic group of the performers here tonight, we had that wonderful, harmonious unity that gave us a wonderful sound and a wonderful reenactment of other things. Did I answer that pretty good? Thank you, my dear one. All right, another question. All right.
If you and your brother had not stayed on the peach farm, do you think you would have written anything?
Oh, if my brother and I had not had the incident we had on the peach farm, I doubt it. I think it was just that spur of the moment that caused me. I don't believe I would have written anything if I had not have been doing what I was doing that particular day, my dear. Because you see, it just so happened, it was one of those kind of coincidental things. I was sitting beside the roadside. By the way, my peach farm is not, my farm stand is not impressive. It's 4 sticks and kerosite poles in the ground, a tin roof that's rusting, and then we have some chairs, we sit out there under that, and we have some shade for some trees. Because we want our produce to be from the farm to the table. Now, if we had a wonderful, wonderful era where we had air conditioning, which we don't, we would cheat. We would pick the okra one day, or the peaches one day, and they would look fresh the next. But if you keep them out there 100 degrees, they got to be fresh the next day. You got to pick them that day. My brother has the old thing of saying, do you want corn for the freezer? Do you want corn for the table? Just wait a few minutes. I'll pull it fresh for you. And then have the water boiling so you can put it in there. And what a taste. Because as we know, chilling fruits, vegetables breaks down, the enzymes start to break down, and the taste is not there. But fresh from the field to your table, it is awesome. So that might not have happened, but it just so happened that on a hot, hot summer's day, I was sitting beside the road watching something as simple as 2 funeral processions. From all I could see, every person in the first funeral procession was African American. I leaned forward to watch to see, would I recognize anyone? I didn't. But from one of the cars, a little girl about 8 or 9 years old, looked out at me at my peaches and my Silver Queen corn and my okra and my beans and tomatoes, and she waved a single little wave. And that little wave sparked into me an idea. It made me sad. Another funeral procession that came down right after that was an all-white one as far as I could see. And as I watched a woman cry. And when I watched that woman cry, I shared her sadness. It didn't matter to me that she was not African American. I watched a crying woman cry because somebody was dead. And I wondered, what would happen if that woman, the white woman, and the little black girl, I wondered if they were put together in a life on a peach farm to try to make a life with one thing in common, not race, but death. Death is universal. And I wondered what would happen if those 2 people were put together. Could they make a life? Could they learn to like each other, I wondered. And then I decided, not really, because the woman looked some kind of rich to me, and I figured with a little girl like me, that woman couldn't cook great one. So I figured, there was no way that woman could make a good life for me, because she looked too rich and she probably couldn't cook grits, and she didn't put no sugar in her iced tea. And so all of those things were going through my mind. And I think that that's really what set the story for me to do it. But you see, there was that air of tolerance to see, could they live together? Could they make a life? And that's how my first novel, Clover, was born. Next question.
Oh, one more question. I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina.
You're from where?
Yeah, I'm from Rock Hill.
Oh,
York
you're
County.
from Rock Hill?
Yeah, so I
I
wanted
could
to
throw
know.
a rock to Rock Hill.
So I wanted to know, where is your peach stand located?
My peach stand is on Highway 321 between York and Clover. And remember, 321 starts all the way over in Tennessee, comes through Tennessee and to North Carolina, South Carolina, and dead ends in Georgia. And I'm right there on Highway 321. And if you ever at home again in Rock Hill, which is right in the same county, come by the farm stand, and I guarantee you I'll put an extra peach in your poke. Thank you. All right, the next question.
Hello, this question is really coming from my best friend Dominique, who is shy.
All
But
right,
she
that's
wants-
okay.
She wants to know who will be tending to the farm after you and your brother.
Who will be attending to the farm that's been in our family over 100 years, and through helpful crop rotation, we've kept this farmland fertile and good. But I don't think anyone, and not that I would blame a young person, my dear one, because maybe, just maybe, they might want 2 dimes to rub together, and the farming life doesn't offer that. So in this age of AI, which stands for artificial intelligence, right? I think that the farming life as we know it will phase out. And I think that the people today will be like you all, more intellectually inclined to want to do something that will be more rewarding monetary-wise. And I don't say that just because I'm technologically challenged, but I am. But I do believe that I wouldn't want my younger siblings, not siblings, I don't have children, but I wouldn't want my younger relatives to really want it as a career because it's so uncertain. You might have a bountiful crop one year, and you might the next year not make one single solitary dime. 2 years in a row, we have lost every single peach we've had. You know what has happened right there in York County? Oh, yeah, because we had early warm weather in February and March. The trees didn't realize that the winter months were over. They took off their overcoats, and then they just, oh, it's warm, and then it got cold, and we lost the crops. And I don't think many young people today, my darling, would really, really want to live that kind of life. So I feel, and I'm sad to say that I'm not sure. But at least it has survived for at least over 100 years, so we're proud of that. And of course, my brother and I, which are the only two out of that large family that's still on the farm, and we're very proud that we are, but we do have wonderfully, wonderfully good help to help us maintain the farm. All right, another question. Yes, please.
I'm coming.
This is what I like about C-SPAN on television too, because people are able to ask questions, and I think that's what it's supposed to be. Yes.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So I wrote down, you mentioned use your talent to lead you to a legacy. I'm a professional writing major here at Marion, getting ready to graduate this May.
Wonderful.
And so what would be your advice to someone that was taught to think realistic versus creativity?
I'm sorry, what was the last part of that?
What would be your advice to someone that was taught to think realistic versus creative?
I guess, my advice would be for that person to maybe to find in their own life what was meaningful, and what was worthwhile for them and to them, and what would, of course, be a benefit to them as well as to others, and to have a legacy that would embody itself upon a task or an ambitious adventure into life, that if the task that you're going to undertake, or the career, or the legacy that you hope to build, do not discount it as something that has to be ultra important, but beneficial to you, worthwhile to you. And if that task or that ambition to you is great, or even if it's small, leave it to an old farmer to admit, do it well or not at all. So whatever it is, my dear one, that you would look forward and hope that you would want to do it. But put your heart into it. Leave a legacy that others would want to embellish and to enjoy, and to benefit from it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, another question. I believe, oh yes, please, right here.
Okay, a recurring topic you keep saying is to leave a legacy. Why do you feel leaving a legacy is an important thing?
Well, I guess it's important because leaving a legacy is important because I think a lot of emphasis has been put upon it. But I think that in its own rightful way, I believe that it has always been done, even before it was, quote, in vogue or the thing to do. I think in the celebration that we have here tonight, a celebration of heritage, I think all parents, all meaningful people have always wanted to pass on to someone something that they had and something that they would want them to do. I guarantee you that out of the ones that we're presenting here on the stage tonight, if I would ask any one of those performers to say, would you please help me to enable me to tell me how is it that you all were so able to harmonize and reach those peaks of those notes, I guarantee you they would tell me. Because you know what? They would want me to have that legacy. I think it is something that is a part of us. I think it's because it makes us who we are. We want others to benefit from something that has benefited us. So I do think it's important for legacies. And I guess that it's something that we would all want to leave something behind. At least leave something to someone that you would think, this is the imprint that I have made, and this has made my life meaningful. And I think it will do the same for you. Thank you. All right, yes, another question back, please.
I heard about your Southern cooking.
I'm sorry, I heard someone mention something dear to my heart, Southern cooking. All right, I'm sorry, repeat that again, please.
I heard someone talk about your Southern cooking and how good it is.
Someone talked about my Southern cooking. Oh, thank you for mentioning that, because I have a New York literary agent, and she said that when I got ready to talk, I tend to brag a lot. I told her I didn't brag a lot. That's just the way people from my part of the woods in South Carolina did. We didn't brag. We just did a bunch of talking. And so I told her, but now you're giving me a chance to brag, because you see, I am a good cook, and I have done a lot of cooking, and I have been nominated. I did win, ironically enough, the Clyburn. Who was Clyburn the cook? What's his name? Clyburn. Well, anyway, I did win that prestigious award in the Southern Foods Works for cooking, but I also did just recently was nominated as one of the 100 best home cooks in all of America. So therefore, I'm up there. I'm up there with Martha Stewart, because I didn't know she was a home cook, but she was. That means she wasn't taught. James Beard and Rita Grosvenor. I think she was from down here in Charleston Way, somewhere down here. With her cooking, and of course Edna Lewis. I mean, they're all with all of them. Julia Child, James Beard, and all of those great people. And there's a farm woman, Doris Sanders, nominated as one of the 100 best home cooks in America. So if you ever in my neck of the woods, you don't have to call and let me know to be prepared for me. Just knock on my door and tell me, are you home today? You got anything cooking? And I will guarantee you I'll scotch up something in a pan to give to you, and you will have something decent to eat, because I am a good cook. I've cooked across America. I've cooked on a lot of the shows. I cooked on the Today Show many, many times, even if it did have an infamous past, but that's okay. And I've done a lot of the other shows, and I've done all my cooking, and I am a pretty good little cook. And I have done a wonderful cookbook, and it's a cookbook that is filled with stories and recipes from our farm stand. And it's a wonderful little book, and it's a very, very grand book. And it's a book that tells all about my life on the farm, all about my cooking, and I guarantee you, though, I bet you would win in a competition, because I don't consider myself the best. Because the last time I was in Florence, there was someone who made the best chicken I think I've ever had in my life. And so therefore, I don't consider myself the best, because that was the best chicken, but I consider myself one of the best. Thank you about my cooking. That gave me a chance to talk about my cookbook. It's called Doris Sanders Country Cooking, filled with stories and recipes.
All right. Where can we get that book?
Sorry?
Where can we receive that book?
Oh, I'm sorry. Repeat the question?
Where can we receive the book?
Where can we get the book? I think we're going to have them here. And I think that Miss Daphne would be able to have some here that would be later on, and she would have them here. So through the school, I think she would be able to get them, because I still have them. But my leg was hurting me too much, and I didn't bring them out my car. because I did mess up my leg, but we do have some of the books, and they can be offered right here. And they are offered at a very, very, very reasonable rate. They're cheap. Miss Daphne, do you think it would be some way that some of the people who might want to get a book could still get them through the school? Yes. Okay. All right. One more question.
Regarding cooking, do you cook any foreign cuisines or just Southern cooking?
I'm sorry?
Do you cook foreign cuisines or just Southern cooking?
Oh, do I cook just ordinary cuisine or just Southern cooking?
Vietnamese, Chinese, or do you only do like Southern?
No, my cooking is across the board, and I'll tell you why it is. At my farm stand, I have what is called a recipe swap board. And that means that no matter where you're from, no matter who you are, you can take a recipe and you can post a recipe. And some of those recipes are in my cookbook. I have cooked in many, many cases, and I usually mainly do, of course, just ordinary Southern cooking, and that is my strong suit, but not necessarily and in that order, just plain cooking. But I do stay within a certain genre. And whenever I do have recipes that are not from my farm stand, I give the source of them, because I have some things like my wonderful different things. A person say, that's not Southern. I say, no, but somebody left it in my pea stand, and I thought it was so good that I put it in my recipe book. And that's how it all goes. But it's usually just, it's country cooking, mostly country cooking, my dear.
Let's give Ms. Sanders a round of applause, everyone.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.
She will be available after the program is over to answer any questions you might have, any additional questions.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
And celebrating. Thank you all for joining us this evening and celebrating such a rich and diverse history. On behalf of the African American Faculty and Staff Coalition, the Office of Student Affairs, and the Campus Activities Board, we would like to thank Ms. Dory Sanders for coming out with just a small token of our appreciation. And they closed the curtain on her, so I can't give it to her right now. If you haven't already, please take time to fill out the program evaluation and drop it off at the table up front. I do want to remind everyone about the FMU's Got Talent finale. It's coming up Wednesday, February the 20th at 7 p.m. at the Performing Arts Center downtown. The first 400 students get in free, and friends and alumni can purchase tickets for $10 at the Performing Arts Center. And you can keep up with everything that the Campus Activities Board is doing on our Instagram at FMU_CAB. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night.